Hi and welcome back. This is Meng from Design Plus Code. Today, what we're going to learn to do is to solve this problem where the header, when you start scrolling, it's kind of overlapping, and if the text is white on top of white, then it's not visible at all. So the solution that we're going to come up with is that as soon as you start scrolling, then there's a black background. So we're going to learn how to create a stateful component. And what that means is that in the life cycle of our component, there will be multiple states. So for example, in this one, as soon as the user scrolls, we should change the state of our component, and using that state, we're going to apply the styling as a result to our header here. And this is especially useful when we receive new data as something new happens. When the user clicks on a button, for example, when you want to show and hide some content, like a modal box or extra cards on the page. So let's head to the header.js, and this is where we need to rewrite this component here. This is a stateless component. In other words, it only passes the props. It doesn't really listen to any events that's happening inside the page. So in order to write a stateful component, we're going to write class header extends react.component curly brackets, then render parenthesis curly brackets again, and then return parenthesis. And then we have the content. So for example, div and close div. So this is going to be replaced by all of this stuff. And this is the equivalent of this, except that we have some stuff in between, and we have a stateful component that is going to listen to different events that's going to happen in the life cycle of the component. So basically what we need to do here is just to cut all this stuff and put it right here. And then taking care of the indentation. And then we have to delete this. So we just transform the header component into a stateful component. There's also a little fix for the indentation here so that it follows exactly the same lines. Now inside any stateful component, we need to start with a constructor. The constructor is gonna have some initializations, so super props. And then here we can start setting some initial states. So this state is equal to curly brackets. And then we're going to set a boolean that says has scroll. Is it false or true? In this case, it's going to be false. So that's what a boolean is. So now we have some initial state for our component that says has the user scroll or not. And then we're going to make a change by using component.mount parenthesis curly brackets. We're going to ask window to listen to the event, so add event listener that's called scroll. And then we're going to ask to change the function that's called handle scroll. So this dot handle scroll. Now we're going to write the function handle scroll. So handle scroll is equal to event. So we're going to pass the event and arrow curly brackets. And we're first going to declare the constants called scroll top and get the window page Y offset. So this is going to give us the data about where the user has scrolled, the positioning of it. And then we're going to say if that value is more than 50. So if the user has scrolled more than 50, then set a new state. So this dot set state parenthesis and then curly bracket, change the boolean to true. If not, so else, this set state, set the boolean of has scroll to false. Now we just need to apply that to our header. So right here, instead of saying, okay, the class name is going to be header for sure, we're going to replace this by something that is more dynamic. We're going to ask, okay, is the state, so this state, has it scroll? Question mark. If yes, then give it a class name header, which is the base class name, and also give it another class name called header scroll. If not, so using colon, then just give it the header class name. So again, it's basically asking, okay, has the use scroll? Is it true? If it's true, then add an extra class name that's called header scroll. If not, just stick it to header. So let's give it a test. We're going to inspect this, and we're going to look at specifically the header. So this is the header, and we're going to start scrolling. As you can see, when I reach 50 and plus pixel, it adds this class name called header scroll. If I go back, it just hides it. And now we're ready to go to our header.css file. At the very top, we're going to add header scroll. And let's set the background to RGBA 000.8 and save. And already you can see that when I start scrolling after 50, there's a black background that appears. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. The one thing that we need to fix, obviously, is that when it scrolls down, we don't need that much space in terms of padding. So we're gonna fix that by changing the padding to 15 pixel 0. And then we should add some transitions as well. But the transition should be added to the header so that the transition can work both ways. So we're gonna do transition 0.8 second and then cubic, changing some of those values. Again, feel free to use yours, and then save. Now you can see it's pretty graceful. Oh, and maybe we should add some background blur to it. Now the problem is it only works for Safari. It doesn't work for Chrome yet. But the code is like this. So backdrop, filter, and blur 20 pixel. It's not gonna work here, but if you switch to Safari, you can see that it's working. So if we've learned something really important today, which is how to create a stateful component, how to add some initial values, how to listen to different events, and then how to apply those values, to change those states, and then apply different classes to the UI elements inside our layout. And like this, you can create anything you want. You can have a new modal box, you can have a different state for a button or a new animation happening, and that can be triggered by any event inside our page, such as when the user scrolls or press a button, or when the user resizes the window. Really, the sky's the limit. And with what you've learned today, I think you can create something really, really powerful for your own website. So thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next section.